All right, so to begin, each candidate will have 2 minutes for introductions. Please start by stating your name, your class, and your major. And then the remaining time is yours to introduce your platform and why you're running. Robert, you may start.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Robert Stryczek. I am a junior and a rising senior in the Gabelli School of Business. For past 2 years, I have been the treasurer of student government and the vice president. And today I am running for president. In addition, I've been a part of a multitude of clubs on the campus and just a big part of involvement. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, Loreen.
Okay. Hi, my name is Loreen Ruiz. I'm a rising senior and a theology major. Currently, I believe that students don't see USG as an effective vehicle for change on campus. They're frustrated by slow response times to emails, and they don't know how to get involved. I'll bring my 4 years of administrative experience garnered through a variety of contexts from an NGO to the Office of Student Involvement, so I can reform USG in the eyes of students as a trustworthy and effective organization. I'll institute things such as a 2 business day response time to any initial email, Google event calendars, and a new website to bring my organization into our organization. Second, I believe that every Fordham student deserves to be at a school they're proud to be at, so my changes will help every student, freshman or senior, resident or commuter. I'll institute things such as the continuation of Fordham Fridays, cross-posting of events, and better student discounts. Furthermore, as a woman and a first-generation Asian immigrant, I'm putting people like me at the forefront of my policies, which include compiling handouts for women to hand out during tabling, and a new event to increase dialogue about stereotypes on campus. In conclusion, you should vote for me because I'm the leader that Fordham needs. I'm willing and ready to acknowledge where we stand, and I know exactly what we need to do to be better. And I'm ready to bring my experience, enthusiasm, and efficiency as your next president. Thank you.
Thank you both. Our first question is directed at both of the candidates. You both chose to run for president after working in other roles for USG. What made you decide to run for president, and why do you think you are prepared to manage an e-board without a VP? Loreen, you can take it first.
So over the last 3 years, I've really evaluated my role as chair of student affairs. But one problem I have seen through USG is a decline in involvement. Currently, every sequential semester, we've seen a loss in senators. And so we really struggle to see a number of students who want to be involved. And I think one of the biggest contributions to that is a lack of organization. Students don't even know when our meeting times are. They don't even know who's on our board. So I think as president, the biggest thing I can do is make some administrative changes. No, administrative work isn't sexy. It's not what people want to talk about, but it's something that I'm experienced in and willing to undertake. That's why I'm wanting to institute policies such as like the events calendar and a 2-day response time, because people have lost trust in USG and they need an organized and efficient leader like me who can step up to make those changes. And then only then can we actually see a student government that people trust and that is actually able to undergo changes on campus.
Robert, your turn.
Cool. So I've been both treasurer and VP for, past 2 years. I will restate that way too often. Very sorry in advance. But I know the job that being president entails. Having been treasurer, I've gone over every budget for every club and know what everybody has asked for or needs or wants to grow. As VP, I've been with Tina, our current president, for those of you who don't know, and have been her right-hand man with everything that needs to get done on campus. And I've been able to even be in the meetings in which Dr. Dorothy, our head of involvement, and others are always speaking at, just to make sure that I can help relay messages to the student body and to actually learn what's being needed. Besides for the fact that I've been involved in so much, I even have a smaller workload next semester. So even if we don't have a VP, which I am trying to work on it right now, reaching out to as many people as I can to see who would like to be VP of student government, I believe that I would be able to handle it with ease.
Thank you both. What on-campus issue would you prioritize to address immediately if elected? And this is to both candidates. Please provide a brief explanation and how it will affect students. So Robert, you may start.
Cool. So I have like two little things. The first one is just to make sure that like everybody understands that we have such a great community here. It's something I always reiterate whenever I'm giving a tour or on a call or meeting new students. And it's just that we have such a great community here. And with the amount of involvement that we have with students, I believe that we can increase involvement exponentially, especially with the fact that, you know, we have student government. And as Loreen was even saying, like, we don't have a lot of people who are willing to do the job and want to be a senator or want to be vice president, but it's a great place to actually, you know, hone your skills and abilities as a leader in both on campus and then for the future. On top of it, a policy that was working on, and then the quarantine hit and everything, you know, went crazy, but is to actually introduce intramurals onto the Lincoln Center campus. I feel like that would be a great way to like really, you know, rake in more people, just, you know, because sports have always been like this big thing. And even at Lincoln Center, we always make fun of the fact that we don't have any sports, and that's a big Rose Hill thing. But I believe that, you know, uh, having intramural teams and sports would actually help cultivate a community, and then will lead for more people to become more involved.
Thank you. Lorraine, you may go.
The biggest issue that pervades our campus is the lack of image and trust, not just with USG, but also with administration. I think there's a sense of apathy, as former President Demetrio says, a sense of apathy and complacency among students. A lot of students see the high rate of transfer students as a given. They assume that that's just what's going to happen because people leave Fordham because they don't like it. They don't trust that actual changes will be undertaken by the administration or by student advocacy groups such as USG to increase diversity, student satisfaction, school spirit. We just take that as a given, and I don't like that. I think the solution to that, because I don't like to just focus on problems, we have to think about what we can do, is to make sure we have a more satisfied student body. And that means not just supporting clubs and club leaders, but supporting every kind of student. So that's why first I'm working on things that help USG's image, like creating a website. Our website's 2 years old. So people even find our website when she's tucked away at Ferguson, they won't have the right names of our current officers. People need to know who's serving them, who they can come to for help, and how exactly they can get involved. And so I believe that the policies on my platform, such as, again, revamping the website, better student discounts, will make Fordham a place that people are proud to be at, a place where people are actually hopeful that the changes they see will actually be listened to and followed through on, because the lack of the complacency on campus is very pervasive. And I'd really like to see more involvement, yes, but more hope in actual change policy.
Thank you. One of the recurring concerns on the Lincoln Center campus, and you guys both touched upon this briefly, but it's the low retention rates for student clubs. As president, what efforts would you take to combat this? Loreen, you can start.
Well, part of the problem is that it's not just low retention rates, but like low members in the first place. And so I think using our social media accounts and really pushing cross-posting is going to be important. There's no point in posting from an account that has very few followers in the first place. You need to start by posting from accounts that have more followers. So I'm planning to work with the Office for Student Involvement and use our USG social media accounts to really make that communication possible. One thing to note about the Lincoln Center campus is that we have such a high population of commuters, and that means that most communication has to take place online. So this is a good test, this campaign, of our social media skills, because that's going to be vital in coming semesters to really encourage people to start coming to club events. I think promotion is absolutely everything. If nobody knows about your event, nobody's going to come. So that is one thing that I'm really going to push as president, is making sure that people have those outlets and outreach so people know about their events and can actually attend them.
Thank you. Robert?
So having been involved on campus for so many years now, I feel like it's just more that we have to get people excited to actually want to go to events. And, at my old high school, we all used to call it like the, 235 club or like the 335 club. I don't really remember. But the point was people wanted to just go to class and then leave first thing if they had a free or whatever, and they didn't want to stay after school. And I completely understand with those who are looking for internships or jobs or, actually have other duties. Like I was in the 3-3 program or trying to get into the 3-3 program, and just having to study so hard is just something that's extremely crazy. But especially like with what Loreen was saying is that we have to speak to the commuters and make sure that they're heard. And what like I believe just making sure that reaching out to them and making sure that it seems that we are listening to what they would like and paying attention to them would be fantastic. And then on the other side, making sure that residents, don't want to just stay in their rooms or just go out. And I mean, please definitely go out into the city, but so many schools like always talk about how much camaraderie there is and how everybody, hangs out in different clubs. And I feel like a big thing would be to just speak to student leaders who I've gotten to know over the past 3 years and just talk to them about outreach, how to join with other clubs. I believe it was BSA and CSC who, no, BSA and Sol, who in the beginning of the first semester of the fall semester actually had one of the big conjoined events. And then that was seen yet again with MSA, CSA, and a few others. I'm sorry, I can't remember. But they were all coming together, and I saw so many students in just one room in G76 AB that it was just fantastic to see so much involvement. So definitely making people excited, whether it be with, whoever's, the most involved or somebody who goes from not being involved to extremely involved at the end of the year, like with some amount of points that are done on OrgSync would be great. But it's definitely making sure that involvement is wanted and that people want to be here.
Thank you both. Drawing our attention to the current COVID-19 pandemic in the United States, there's a likelihood that the fall 2020 semester will be impacted, similar to the spring semester. How would you address problems such as continued club presence online and other problems that might arise? Robert, you may start.
So right now with USG, there is going to be a Jeopardy game at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You should all come. I will be hosting. But one of the things with that is we can definitely all be creative with all the technology that we have at our disposal. And so I was thinking maybe cultural clubs could, I don't want to, suggest Jeopardy or bingo for every single club event, but maybe having PowerPoint slides, maybe bringing in more speakers. I know that we used to have a lot more speaker series, especially with cultural clubs. And since now we would be able to, reach people who are far away, maybe in different countries or different parts of the United States, if we want to be more local, we could do something like that. It'll definitely, with the COVID-19 quarantine taking place, everything is just going to be a little bit more crazy. But as long as people are willing to, reach out to USG or speak to the people in involvement, just to go over ideas, I believe that we'd be able to fix it and actually keep club retention and, have people coming.
Thank you, Loreen.
So there are a couple of things that I want to talk about. So the first about club programming. So the one thing that we have to absolutely make sure of is, assuming that we can't come back for the fall semester, which is a possibility, we need to make sure that students are still finding ways to be engaged on campus. And so that means working closely with student involvement staff to find creative ways to still host events. So yeah, my student affairs committee, which I currently chair as your USG chair of student affairs, is continuing with the MDs. So we're going to have an online awards ceremony, hopefully on April 23rd. And so this will be good practice going forward, thinking about the types of events that we can hold to keep students engaged. The second thing I do see a problem with isolation, and specifically, I'd like to speak about people's mental health because it's very easy for people to lapse into periods of depression or anxiety because of being at home so much. And so I think this is a great opportunity to work with clubs like Active Minds or departments like CPS, which we have been talking to as members of USG. Our board just met with a representative and we're going to work to promote counseling sessions with them to make sure that students get that emotional support they need. The third problem is, of course, the issue of academics, because this is a new kind of reality that everybody is adjusting to, including professors. And so in this case, I think it's really important that we work with people like Dean Eldridge and Dean Riccio to have town halls where students can voice their concerns about how online classes are going and being conducted. Because it's important that even though we are apart as a community, that people's voices are still heard from wherever in the world they are.
Thank you. So the current USG president, Tina, implemented certain initiatives to increase Fordham's spirit on campus. As president, do you plan to continue these initiatives she began, and how will you continue to grow them? Loreen?
So I assume we're talking about Fordham Fridays. And so, yes, so Fordham Fridays, so keeping Fordham Fridays is one of my 10 central platform tenets. I think it is a cornerstone of USG at the moment. It is our most visible thing, and I absolutely intend to keep it. I do want to add, though, that students can't find Fordham spirit just by eating pizza and wearing maroon. I think we need to do more because sometimes all people know about USG is that we hand out pizza. So I want to increase school spirit, not necessarily by holding fun events. Like, it isn't all about having fun, even though Fordham Friday is fun. We need to make sure like that the happiness that somebody gets from having a slice of pizza continues, that we associate USG with school spirit and happiness and things that people enjoy, like better student discounts or maybe higher involvement at clubs. If we're known for those things, like, they will have more lasting impacts. And so, yes, I do plan to continue those kinds of spirit initiatives, but I also plan to pursue other policies that will increase student satisfaction in the long term. And I think that way we really will see a more satisfied, engaged, and spirited student body.
Thank you. Robert?
Could I get the question again? I'm sorry.
No problem. So basically, Tina has implemented initiatives to increase Fordham school spirit, like Fordham Fridays. Do you plan to continue these initiatives, and how do you plan to grow them?
Okay. So not to be that person, but it was actually Katina Smith who did Fordham Fridays last year. And Tina's actually big things with involvement was starting the newsletter and really like pushing, being like a big supporter of having new clubs on campus. So that's just why I was a little confused. But so I definitely want to keep the newsletter going. I do, it does remind me a little bit of the What's Happening email. But for a lot of members of Fordham, I know who is like texted me like, oh, what's going on today? Oh, like, where's the free food? And I'm like, we have a What's Happening email. Like, that's the whole point of, knowing what's happening. You shouldn't just be asking me. And, the people in the student involvement office actually work really hard to make sure that everybody, knows what's going on or what's happening. And so definitely with the newsletter, I do want to like keep that as like reaching out to everybody in the Fordham community, because again, as it's been said, student government isn't really, out there. And like the biggest thing that we're really known is for pizza. But we are really working for each of you and trying to make sure that, we can get your new club started, that, that something's going on, that we are talking with administration. It's not like we're just sitting on our hands doing nothing and worrying about pizza or some other random stuff that everybody doesn't care about. But especially with our, the operations committee, the student affairs committee, the facilities committee, and just making sure that, you guys can reach out to us and pushing that'd be great. So, yeah.
Thank you both. Loreen, this next question is for you. You said, quote, school spirit and pride is based on creating a community in which every student, commuter or resident, freshman or senior, club leader or not, is happy. We just discussed how you would increase Fordham spirit. In addition to that, how do you plan on increasing inclusivity on campus?
So like I mentioned earlier, I have 10 central tenets of my campaign. I've come up with a few additional ones in the past few days, but particularly I'd like to focus on my advocacy for women and minorities tenets. And so one of the things that I want to do is create a new event in collaboration with the Office of Multicultural Affairs and or diversity clubs. It would address stereotyping, have dialogue about like racial stereotypes, stereotypes around sexual orientation and identity. I think it's really important that we confront those things and that people see a student government that has that at the forefront. Other things that I want to do include compiling resources for women. I think a lot of women, especially in regards to Title IX concerns, don't know exactly where they can do or what they can do if they need help or exactly where to go. The third thing is during our yearly club networking mixer, I want to include some exercises about diversity. I keep pushing diversity, and the reason for that is because it is important to have a community where everyone feels welcome. And I think that if we emphasize inclusivity and diversity through our USG sponsored initiatives, people will feel that we actually care and we're there to welcome them. Additionally, I've been approached by some commuter students. I'm a resident, for those of you who don't know, and I've actually brought their concerns to meetings with Dean Enrique already. I think that by offering myself as somebody who listens and somebody who follows through, people will understand that, yes, we are here to help and to be inclusive. I think it's very telling to have a resident who cares about commuters or a resident who cares about all sorts of people. The president's role is to represent everybody. And so I think the policies and the actions that I'm currently undertaking demonstrate my commitment to fostering community at Fordham.
Great. Robert, this question is for you. You were quoted saying, "I will be the voice to the administration to successfully support those who have any issues regarding housing, safety, or anything else within the community." What sort of tactics will you use to support students' needs when voicing them to the administration?
Besides for making sure that I am reaching out to like the Fordham community itself, whether it be tabling during like USG office hours or just talking to club leaders and just really talking to any of my friends or people that know that I'm part of USG and am there to talk to administration. Just making sure that people know that USG is here to talk and to listen, and then to bring up concerns. A few people can say about me that I'm sometimes crass or very specific and stubborn when it comes to things that I care about. And especially with administrators, though I do try my best and I am often polite and always make sure that I hear where they're coming from, I always make it prevalent that it's not like I'm somebody that could just be shoot away and that will just say, okay, so sorry to bother you, but I'm there to put my foot down and say, no, I actually do care about the student body and actually want our voice to be heard.
All right, thank you. For our final question, we would like to ask the simple question, why you? What characteristics, accomplishments, and plans make you appealing to the general student body to lead them in this upcoming year? Candidates, think of this as your closing statement. Loreen, you may start.
So today we're not here to vote for the most experienced person or the most social person. We're here to vote for the best person for the job. And I believe that's me because of 3 E's. I've talked about my experience, yes, but that isn't everything. I'm eager to help. I'm so eager. I am so excited for the prospect of being able to serve you guys. The moment that campaigning started, I was like at the gates, like posting everywhere about my campaign because I was so enthusiastic about it. And then the second thing I want to highlight is efficiency. I'm one of the most organized people you will ever meet. I posted a picture of my undies timeline and the spreadsheet that I use to track everything that we do, which was informed by my student worker job at student involvement. like I know all the details down to a T, and I think it's really important that a president has that sense of urgency in organization, because it's the only way that people can come together and get things done. I'm not a, you know, I'm not necessarily a free thinker. I'm somebody who's got details down to the bone and is efficient, organized, ready to act. And I have 0 unread emails in my inbox at the moment, if that tells you what kind of person I am. I lead with empathy. That's what I like to say. I'm super understanding of my committee members if they have other obligations. And I play to people's strengths. I think empathy is really the key. And it's a very Jesuit value to have, in the spirit of cura personalis. So I think considering all the personal traits I embody and all the thoughtful policies I have, I would be the best fit for USG president.
Thank you, Loreen. Robert?
Gosh, why me? Well, not to sound egotistical, but I almost want to say, who else? But I mean, Loreen does run a great campaign, and she does have a lot of amazing ideas and has done a wonderful job as student affairs committee chair. But I've been a part of Fordham since my freshman year. I'll never forget meeting Dr. Wenzel and her saying, "You're one of the only freshmen in my entire career being here that I've actually met who's not one of the club representatives. You're at every event, you're always here, and you're just somebody who embodies the spirit of Fordham." I don't know how many people have even mistaken me to even be the president of Fordham, or how many of my classmates make fun of me for being the face of Gabelli because I'm always at every event there. I'm always here for somebody to talk to, whether it be something to do with school, maybe they're not having a great relationship, or they don't know what to do with their lives. I'm always here to be someone like a shoulder to cry on, or someone to generate ideas with. I'm here because I have the right amount of experience. I've done the hard work of being a treasurer. I've worked my butt off being vice president and having more sales at the Winter Ball dance than for the past 10 years, I believe. I'm always here and I'm not going anywhere. And that's why I think me.
All right, thank you both for your time and for answering our questions.
Thank you.
All right, for the next session of the debate, we're going to open the floor to questions from the audience. If you could please message the host of the meeting, which is Sophie. You have a question, she will unmute you and you can ask the candidates.
There seems to be some issues, so Grace, if you can unmute yourself, go for it.
I can just speak it out loud. So my question is for Loreen, actually. And so I was wondering, when you discussed your resources for diversity, specifically the Title IX packet for women, how is this different than what Fordham already does?
Well, I just want to make sure that like women know exactly where they need to go. So for anything, so Title IX is just one example, but I'm talking about like possibly concatenating things for counseling, or maybe international women have like their own kinds of concerns. Like I think it's good that women have a central place to find like everything they need. So I'm not just talking about Title IX cases, like I'm talking about like their physical and their mental health as well. So I think compiling those resources and putting them in one place will help women on campus who need these resources find them more easily, because right now I feel like they're in a place where you kind of have to dig for them on the Fordham websites, and if you don't know exactly what you're looking for, you're not going to find it easily. But if we're tabling at Fordham Fridays and we're making our office hours accessible to people, then people can actually use the resources they have. So in this case, like we're using USG as a vehicle to promote things that already exist, and putting things from resources from multiple departments in one place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the next question, if Joseph Moyer, you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hi. My name is Joey. This is a question for both of you guys up there. As a current sophomore, I've seen 2 years where membership and involvement in USG hasn't quite been where it should be, and that plays to what you guys were talking about with involvement and pushing forward. So what do each of you bring to the table, and how would you bring us to where we need to be moving forward?
So we'll have both of the candidates answer this question. Robert, you can start.
Right. So I definitely say my strong relationships with the other student leaders at Fordham and the Fordham community should definitely help. Having been an orientation leader and knowing so many people on campus, and even right now during our elections, I definitely know how to reach out to people to either bring in senators or different members of the committees um, to really bringing involvement. I yet again bring up the winter ball dance and how I had brought more people into attendance than almost ever before. I have the motivation and drive, and I want to say the personality to bring people in. I'm somebody who you can definitely just come up and have any quick chat with, and I always look to people, and I really believe that I'm able to understand who they are and what really drives them. I'm smart enough to delegate to those around me because I know that even though I do think I can do everything, I can't, and I never have the ability to see every side of everything. Nobody does. So I'm always able to look to my team, especially in USG or whatever I'm doing, and ask them for help. So whether it be a small task force that just sits down on the regular to bring membership and outreach and involvement up, I'd be happy to do that. But really just working with my team who helps prop me up and push me forward, and just whatever else I can bring to the table is how I believe I can do this.
All right, thank you, Loreen.
When it comes to reaching out to other students to recruit them, I think Robert and I have similar skill sets. I've already gotten 3 of my friends to run for senator. And so I'm really excited to see who we have going on board in the next semester. I think what I bring to the table when it comes to increasing the number of students involved in USG specifically is my focus on improving USG's image. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, oh, I didn't know you were on USG, or what does USG do, or what have you guys done? And I don't see that as an insult, I think, because I know that we're hard at work and having meetings and working on policies all the time. It's just that they don't know about them. And so part of what I'm going to do is improve USG's image and be more public about what it is exactly we're doing, and make USG a place that people want to join or come to. You know, when we're lucky enough to have general members start attending meetings, they start disappearing after a couple of them. We need to make our agendas public and send them in every weekly newsletter so people know what kinds of things we're up to and what we've been doing. I don't want to be seen as a lame duck organization, and we're not. But if students don't know what we do and don't have a good perception of USG, they won't want to get involved. And so I think the policies in my platform help address that by creating a new website and responding to emails quickly, and having an event calendar where people know exactly when they can come to our meetings and where to go.
Great, thank you. For the next question, Tina, if you want to unmute and ask your questions.
Yes, I actually wanted to congratulate both of you for where you guys are today in this debate, but also both of you guys have held leadership positions in United Student Government this past academic year, the academic year that's going on right now. You guys have both held executive board positions and have taken a great deal of leadership within USG. So that being said, you guys have mentioned a lot of issues such as like a lack of trust or like administrative issues or people not coming to meetings and all of these things that are happening within USG. So what did you do when you were in the role this past year to actually better those issues that exist?
Loreen, if you would like to start.
So one of the problems that USG has had is like sometimes we don't always have a full executive board. And so like already we struggle to keep up with the things that we have to do. But my colleagues in USG know me as somebody who steps up. You know, we had a vacancy in the secretary position, and then I volunteered to take notes at the e-board meetings and be acting secretary for our board meetings. There are weeks where I step in to send out newsletters. there are times when I've made office hours sheets. I'm there to like fill in the gaps that we need when we have roles that are missing. And I think all of that centers back to my preoccupation with improving USG's image is being known as people who are professional and really pursue a standard of trust, efficiency, and organization. One of the most recent things that I did was reach out to somebody from health insurance services, and that was a follow through from one of the issues that was brought up at our town halls. And so I volunteered to write an email, and I came up with questions, and I was the one asking the questions at our general meeting to the representative who came. So that was those are the many examples of me stepping up, leading by example to make USG more organized and more presentable.
Thank you, Robert.
So how I've been working on people joining USG, I believe is the question. So I gotta say, besides for having run winter ball and telling people to come, all my ideas actually came to a halt right as we came into spring break. A big thing that I was going to use to push people coming was the Jeopardy events that I was going to throw. Because though we had Fordham Friday, for those of you who don't know, as the vice president, one of my big things that I have to do is throw school spirit events. And when Katina was vice president, we brought up having Fordham Fridays as the big thing to start off with. And then I thought that we should continue from there and showing off USG as a club that actually is fun and that actually is, almost on par with every other club and isn't, as Loreen said, isn't as sexy with all of our bureaucratic work. I thought that would definitely be a great way to bring in new and fresh members who were, hey, that looks like fun, or hey, I never really thought of student government in such a way. Maybe I could be joining to help with student affairs or help create school spirit. And you know what? I really want to create a club, or maybe I want to talk about clubs and go with the operations committee, or maybe even just because they would want to join the facilities committee because they've always wanted to fix something within Fordham.
Great, thank you. For the next question, Vicky, if you'd like to ask.
Okay, can you hear me? Are we good? Cool. So I have a pretty good idea of what Loreen is doing to help minority groups at Fordham, considering we are a majority white college. So Robert, I was just wondering, what have you done in the past, and what do you plan on doing in the future to help better establish a sense of community throughout all students? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So two major things that I've really worked on is working with OMA and trying to make sure that they're going to CSA events and that they want to, show that they have a presence on campus, especially when it comes to budget season. I do push cultural clubs to, throw the wild event that they had going on that they didn't believe that, USG would even think about funding, that, having a dance, having some different band, or having a specific DJ play. And then really pushing that to be like, no, follow your dreams, push culture, make sure that, your culture has a voice on this campus, and, be the group that you believe that you can be. And then secondly, I go and promote as many, go to and promote as, I go to and promote multiple events that are going on campus that actually have to do with minority groups, whether it be SOL or BSA or CSC or APAC, and just making sure that, I'm there to talk, whether it be about USG and having different events, or maybe being a link to the administration to go over that. So really just showing up and being there, and then making sure that people are willing and want to reach out is how I've helped.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. So the next question is from Dimitrios, a former USG president, and he is asking, his question is, being the president is a taxing, stressful job. You become a symbol for the school community and a heavy responsibility is placed upon you. While paradoxically, an average student may not know what it is you do. In order to do your job well, you will need to work with others and inspire people. How will you attempt to balance your career as a student with your presidential career? More importantly, how do you plan to inspire your classmates? Loreen, if you can answer first.
So work-life balance is a big thing for me because I see myself as somebody who equally prioritizes extracurriculars with academic achievement. And I think I'm doing a great job with that so far. You know, I'm involved in a number of honor societies and gotten a lot of academic honors. Of course, that doesn't undermine the responsibility of a president. And so I think with the new responsibilities I have as president, it'll be extra important that I block out time for meetings and block out time for self-care. I think that's the key to keeping my head screwed on, is knowing exactly how much to be involved, if that makes sense. Because if I live and breathe this job, I mean, anybody would implode under the stress. So I think knowing that work-life balance is going to be important. In terms of inspiring other people, one thing that I really want to make sure is done is that I have some sort of quarterly or midterm evaluation of everything that I've done. So like I said, I'm promising 10 things, and I want to make sure students know what those 10 things are and are frequently updated on them, so they can see me as somebody who follows through, and so they can feel more hopeful about the state of change and the impacts that USG can have on campus. And so if I could answer your question in short, Demetrius, it's work-life balance first, to manage the responsibilities of my leadership role and my academic responsibilities. And then second is making sure that we have good PR and that students see exactly what we're doing.
Robert, if you would like to respond.
Sure. So I have a lot of stress in my life, if I could say so myself. For the past 4 semesters, I've had a 6-class workload, and that was including having the consulting cup in my sophomore year, in which I was also the treasurer of student government. And I believe that at least treasurer has the second, if not one of the most stressful and time-consuming jobs out there, with the amount of budgets that need to go on and just making sure that they talk to club leaders and all of that. It's a lot of work, and I do want to thank Joey for all the stuff that he does. But even at that same time, I went on to even go and win the Consulting Cup at Lincoln Center, which is, you know, pretty hard to do, if I can say so myself. And from that, I now am having only 4 classes next semester, and I'm even having 2 days off. And so balancing just an extra job that I've pretty much also been doing for the past 2 years and having a shorter course load almost puts, like, you know, no extra weight on my shoulders, and doesn't really seem that it's going to be as difficult as it has been in the past 2 years. To inspire, I always try my best to, you know, inspire through the things that I do. Especially, you know, having, Demetrios knows himself, having a commuter as a president, you know, goes to show, you know, the residents, like, that they're not, you know, doing as much as they can. If a commuter is there just, you know, having to commute an hour home, an hour to school, and like doing a commute twice a day, they can definitely, you know, dedicate at least an hour to, you know, go to a club or go to an event and, you know, actually be part of the Fordham community. So I want to inspire people to, you know, see this person running around doing 100 things, you know, and making sure that, you know, he can get every ounce of Fordham into him before the end of his senior year, and just making sure that people see the love that I really have for this school. And that's how I want to inspire them, by showing them how much I do care about this community.
Great, thank you both. For the next question, Sejani, if you could unmute yourself and ask.
So, hi, both of you. I love both of you, and I love both of your platforms, just saying. But you both put a lot of emphasis on gaining general members and maintaining general members. And I was just wondering, what would you feel is the role of general members, and how would you make them feel just as important as anyone that's like a senator on the board?
Loreen, you may start.
So first of all, I think I applaud any general member who comes to our meetings because it can seem almost intimidating to step into a meeting of a club and not know anyone there. And so I think it takes a lot of courage just to show up. I think the problem with retention is that a lot of general members don't feel included in the kinds of conversations we have. Right now, we all work very tightly as an e-board, but maybe it can feel a little bit insular to general members who come. So I think if we do see a general member who comes to meetings, taking the time to introduce yourselves and tell them what it is we do and what our roles are, will be really important in making sure that they feel included as part of the conversation. And I think in terms of retaining them, I think even just reaching out and saying, hey, how are you doing? I know you used to be a general member. If you found a home other than USG, that's totally fine. We just want to make sure you're enjoying Fordham. But we loved having you. I think taking that personal, that empathetic approach is going to be really important when keeping general members, and then helping them stay informed by attaching meeting agendas to every newsletter email will help students join USG and stay there. We love having general members. I've had some fantastic general members on my committee this year. I believe that it's my outreach and my empathy that help them keep coming to meetings. And I wouldn't have been able to do the Christmas tree lighting without them. So I'm grateful for general members. I just think we need to do more to help them feel included.
Thank you. Robert, you may start.
So I will never forget my first USG meeting, which I went to in my freshman year. I was just looking for, a club to join, and I had, had a few friends who were in USG, so I decided to step in. And I walked in, and everybody was extremely welcoming. And in about 5 minutes, I wanted to head for the door. And that was because, nothing was as quickly moving as it could be. Loreen had spoken about how our email should be within 2 days. So to really show again how everything's going on. But we have so much passion, which can be seen by every president for the past 3 years, Becky Song, Demetrios, Tina, and I hope myself. We have all this passion, but it's not being dulled out as quickly as it can. So general members should be there to learn about what's going in the community, making sure that they're going to their committee meetings, working on what needs to be done, and then make sure that, their time is known to be precious. It's not something that we want to just, take as much from them, but we should have an efficient meeting every time. We should be, doing stuff within 45 minutes instead of an hour, or maybe being able to cut it down to 30 minutes so somebody can go run to a different event that they would have loved to do. So really, a general member should be there to work hard, play hard, get everything done, be efficient, and to maybe one day be a senator or a member of the executive board, and knowing that we do care about them, we care about their time, and we want them to be happy to be there.
Great, thank you so much. So for the next question, Rebecca, if you want to unmute and ask your question.
Sure, thanks. So you guys are both rising seniors, and I understand that this is a very exciting time, but I also know from prior experience that a lot of student leaders will sign up for a lot of things, and a semester into the actual school year, or a month even, they might realize that they have undertaken a little bit too much. As a USG president, if someone on your e-board, or maybe more than one member, chooses to resign in the first few weeks, how would you approach that situation, given that it is a time when you're applying for jobs, when you yourself are in a very overwhelming role, and you also need to prioritize self-care?
Robert, would you like to start?
So I'm actually trying to head off to law school for 2021, 2022. And so I will be taking my LSAT on August 28th, and then I'll be applying to schools, and that'll be that. So once all of that is done, I'm going to submit everything the first week of October, send that to all of my schools, and then have that done. And then if I need to start choosing schools in April, so be it. But so especially with that, that'll be like my biggest thing. And since it's going to be about a month when everybody's just getting their feet wet, I believe that it's something that won't be too hard to handle. And with self-care and everything, I always take time for myself, especially on the weekends, but really being at Fordham is my self-care. Being able to see all my friends and going to events and seeing people work hard, play hard, do whatever they want, and just seeing a smile on someone's face from having a good day is what really makes me happy to be at Fordham and helps clear my mind.
Loreen, you can take the question now.
So I think it's a great question raised by Becky because we have struggled with vacancies in the past, but I think my adaptability in my current role shows my willingness to step up when there are vacancies. Like I mentioned, we unfortunately lost our secretary, so I stepped up to take notes during board meetings and send out those weekly reminder emails. So I think learning how to delegate and knowing how to play to people's strengths is going to be vital should the situation arise. And thankfully, I think I have the relevant experience, having spent the last 3 years as chair of the Student Affairs Committee. Delegation has been absolutely central in making sure that all of the events I plan go through smoothly. I like to use a spreadsheet system, which is like the task sheets we use in student involvement. And I like to write out each thing that we need to do that week and assign it to somebody and have a cell that records whether or not it's completed, in progress, or pending approval. And so having that kind of system, if we need to split up responsibilities of a missing role, is going to be really important. And I want voters to see that I have all these contingency plans if things go awry. I'm not working on the fly here. I know exactly what to do if that unfortunate circumstance occurs, but I'm willing to step up and do it because I'm confident in my organizational skills.
Great, thank you. For the next question, Sarah, if you could unmute yourself.
Okay, can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, I'm on my phone, so I can't really, this is like hard to work. Anyway, so my question is, I guess for both of you, you have both touched on a lot of important issues today regarding Fordham's campus life and everything, such as student involvement and diversity inclusion. And I was just wondering, what is the greatest weakness of Fordham, if it's not these issues? And what do you plan on doing to work on that issue and measure the efforts of how you're gonna solve the issue?
All right, Loreen, you may start.
So this is perhaps a controversial answer because I think Jesuit values are something that very much define our institution, but sometimes they can come into conflict with what students actually want, especially when it comes to things such as the dorm policies or handing out condoms on campus. Because students have championed against those things for a very long time. And of course, we have to understand that we do attend a religious institution. And so I think that is Fordham's biggest weakness, is that they can't always cater to exactly the needs that students want. It doesn't mean that addressing those kinds of concerns is hopeless. I just think that both parties in this case, student advocacy groups and the administration, need to approach those kinds of situations with an empathetic and moderate angle, because I do want to respect the sanctity of this institution and the values that define it. But I also think it's important to be a voice for the students and really advocate for things that people want, because I think to fail to advocate for those things is like giving up, and I don't like to give up.
Thank you. Robert?
I would say two different things are like Fordham's biggest negatives. I'm sorry, but I would definitely say communication chains and the bureaucracy that comes with a lot of stuff. So communication chains, especially in student government, the amount of times we've had an e-board meeting or just a regular meeting in which somebody was like, "Oh, I was talking to so and so," and then they sent me to the other person, and then they brought me back to so and so, and then they sent me to the other person, and it was just it's just crazy like that. And then secondly, just the bureaucracy that and the stigma behind bureaucracy in Fordham, especially like with clubs, being a president, being treasurer on an e-board, starting a club, all of that. Those are like the two main things, at least I believe, are a big stigma and a problem at Fordham. With communication chains, especially either within USG or if it's with a club trying to get in touch with OMA or somebody trying to just get like a new club representative for like as a teacher. I believe that you could always come to us and we'd be more than happy to help in any way that we can. But good old fashioned just walking up and going to a teacher's office, I'd be happy to do it, or maybe send you there and make sure that a teacher would be okay with that. And just making sure that people know that you can come to them and communicate with them and be like, no, this seems kind of like a problem, so maybe we can work it out. And then going from there. So definitely just being behind people and supporting them in communication between people who don't understand what's going on in some situations. And then bureaucracy. I always say, if you ever need help with a budget packet or starting an operations club, come to me and I'll either help you do it myself and I'll take you through it and I'll tell jokes the entire time just to make sure that you're smiling while you're filling out paperwork, or I'll send you to the right person who knows the paper or the page as well as anybody else. I know how to get in contact with them. So really just making sure that people know who to go to and that we're here to help are the two ways that I'd really combat these stigmas.
Great, thank you both. So the next question is from Joseph Van Gostein, and it is for Robert. So his question is, Loreen has been posting all over social media about her 10-step program, so I feel like I know her platform and goals well. I haven't seen the same from Robert, so I was wondering if he could explain his goals and how he plans to advertise them.
Great. So I was going to wait till the debate and then after to really start campaigning and showing my advertisements, especially because the first day of You Could Campaign was April Fool's Day. So I got a few people like making jokes like, oh, the second you put something up, we're going to be like, oh, just an April Fool's joke. But so my big plans at Fordham are really just increasing involvement, making sure people are happy to be here and making sure people are heard. I will send out an email or post on Instagram or social media to really show what I'm going to do. But just making sure that USG is known as a presence that's not just looming over everybody, but something that's part of the pack that isn't just there, doing nothing or just being secretive, but just like any other club, just to make sure that people are coming to us with any and all questions, no matter how big or how small, we're there to help.
Thank you. For our next question, Melanie, if you could please unmute yourself and ask your question.
All right. So throughout this debate, we've heard about all your different strengths in coming into potentially being the president, but I'm curious as to what you think your biggest weakness is.
Lorraine, if you'd like. Oh, did you have another point?
No, I was just going to say that that's for both of the candidates.
Oh, okay. So Lorraine, you can go ahead.
Sure. I think my biggest weakness is also my biggest strength. So my core value is empathy. I think I'm an extremely empathetic person, always the first person that my friends go to whenever they need help. Kind of like an armchair therapist, but I do have a background in mental health advocacy, so hopefully I'm a little more qualified than that. I think I can get very invested in how other people are feeling, and that tends to affect my emotions as well. But I think how I get around that is by surrounding myself with positive people and being a solutions oriented person. I think if we always push forward and think about tangible solutions to whatever problems people have, um, that's a good way to keep myself happy and stable as somebody who's very empathetic. So it is both the weakness and the strength of mine, but it is something that I lead by, and that defines my life, and I wouldn't change it for a thing.
Great. Robert, you can go ahead.
So, not to really bring myself down, but I definitely have two big weaknesses that always go head to head with one another. And it's how stubborn I can be and how far of ahead of myself I can get. Um, I don't want to say I always think that I'm right, but I always, think that I have, what needs to be done. And I always want to, go to the next thing, make sure that something's done, and then just keep going. And so just because of that stubbornness, or being like, oh, we got to get to the next thing, it has to be, we need to get ourselves there, or I'm just saying, oh, like maybe we could do this, maybe this would be great. And those are definitely my two biggest weaknesses. But definitely a big strength of mine is finding people who know when to call me on like what's going on, and just being like, oh, Robert, you're being a little too much right now, you're being a little stubborn, you're getting a little too far ahead of yourself. And that's really what strengthens me and what I'm very happy to have just in my life. Especially, I listen to my friends whenever they have problems with how I'm acting. I always say, tell me that I'm, being a pain, tell me I'm doing this, and I'll stop myself right then and there. And I know that they'll always check me when it's necessary. And these relationships are really what build me up and make me the person that I am.
Great, thank you. For the next question, Joseph Moyer, if you want to unmute yourself again.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I know both of you are running your elections, and you're thinking right now about what you're gonna do when you win. But you have to be prepared for both sides of the coin. Over the past few years, we've seen the people that ran for president, the ones who lost, they stopped with USG. Demetrios' election, Tina's election, they stick with it because they won, but the ones who didn't win, they just left USG in the wind and then hurt our membership. So, God forbid, the one who loses, what's your plan moving forward from that, if you lose?
All right, Robert, you can start.
So like I said before, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, who'd have me? But I love USG. Like no matter how bureaucratic it can be, no matter how much of an inconvenience, it's where I want to be. I want to be at the forefront just to make sure that I can always help out my friends with whatever clubs that, they have going on. And so if we have a full e-board and I can't even, be vice president or a senator or something, I'll still come to general meetings. I'll still be on the student affairs committee or the operations and make sure that I know what's going on. And though like so many people have like left and been high and dry, it's USG is like a second home to me. Like we're all a little bit crazy and we all have our own strengths and weaknesses, but we get things done. And I don't see that in any other club. So I'm always happy and always will want to be a part of it.
Thank you, Loreen.
Well, it's impossible to tell how I'll feel about the election results, because elections are always very like raw thing, especially if you're so involved. But what I do want to say is that the policies that I have, I can still pursue them if I'm not elected president. And so I think it's important to know that that I still have things in store for me that I can work on and pursue if I'm not elected president. And so that could be as a senator or even on the board of USG if there's a vacant board position, or if not, it could be becoming a member or board member of a diversity club. I think there's so many opportunities for me, even if I don't win the election. And I'm committed to ensuring that there really is that kind of professionalism and involvement and engagement in Fordham, the kind that I want to foster. So USG may or may not be that vehicle for me. And again, it depends on if there are any vacancies or what kinds of things that that government is working on. But I still plan to involve myself in the Fordham community even more than I am now, especially now that I have 10 central things that I want to focus on.
Great, thank you both. Tina, if you could unmute yourself and ask your next question.
Sure, great. I'm not sure why my camera is working, but yeah, I just wanted to know what you guys think you guys have as like a quality that the other candidate doesn't have. Because I think both of you guys are exceptional leaders and you guys have proved that again and again in your roles, both in USG and other clubs. So I guess what's one quality that you have that you're proud of that you think the other candidate may not as much?
Loreen, if you would like to start.
For me, it's definitely my punctuality and my organizational skills. Robert and I are both very extroverted, but the thing is, I'm always on time to meetings. I always respond to all my emails right away. I'm probably the most organized member in USG as we talk. I mean, I have spreadsheets, I have timelines, like I have everything accounted for. Like my files are meticulous. If somebody asks me to find something, like I'll be able to find it for you 3 years back. I'm super organized with all my files. And I think that's very befitting of a role like USG president, where you're not chairing a committee, you're kind of chairing all of the committees and working on a bunch of various issues at once. I'm somebody who's able to make order from disorder, and in fact, keeping organized is what helps me from being stressed. And so having that sense of urgency and that sense of organization is going to be vital in the role as president. And I think I possess that in abundance.
Robert, your response?
Yeah, so I'm gonna say like two, but they go like hand in hand. But it's definitely my confidence and my ability to act on the fly. Whenever there's, let's say, a metaphorical fire going on, I'm always ready to jump on it as fast as possible to make sure that it's done and that it's not doesn't become a bigger problem than it can be. I've been in enough situations where I know when it's correct to either go with the flow or to have a plan to back it up, because in the real world so many different things will always happen, and you can't always be prepared for what happens. So my ability to do that and have a smile on whilst doing it are definitely my qualities that I believe that I have, and especially helps being president, whether it be the Observer writing an article about us, or someone having said something against us, and we need to jump on that and show that we are here to help or do whatever we can. So to really summarize, it's my confidence and ability to act on the fly.
Okay, great. Thank you both. Next question, we have an anonymous question directed at Robert, who has concerns about individual issues that may be always of an interest. And so she wants to know how students can be assured that the attention will be equally distributed to every issue.
Can I get like in a regards to like an example?
Yeah, from what I've seen the text as, the student wants to know that students who see you in a lot of student spaces have heard you say things like you don't care about a few things, and recognizing that being a president is a stressful job. How can you assure us that you would be able to handle all the work and stress that comes with the role to reflect the larger interest of the Fordham community? So asking, how can students be assured that you are invested in all students brought to USG's attention?
Okay. So depending on, I don't know what it is that I've said that I didn't care about, but really, if it's important to someone that they would want to have a conversation about it, it's important to me. And to make sure that to show that I care about individuals' problems. The amount of people who've come up to me just to go over, feeling that they don't fit in, or that they don't know where to go, or don't understand like what needs to be done about, whether it be grades or their mental health or something along those lines. I've always been there to help out. So if it's something that somebody really does find important and that they believe that they need to follow as an individual, I'm always here to talk about it, whether it be personally, whether or not you don't want somebody to know about it, or if it's just, to help you out in whatever way to make your Fordham experience any bit better.
Great, thank you, Robert. For the next question, Racham, if you could please unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, so I know Loreen mentioned how she had like a 10-point platform, and Robert, you said you're working on building your platform after this debate. And I was just wondering, like, since there are so many points, which point are you guys both most passionate about, and which one do you think would make the biggest impact on Fordham?
All right, Loreen, you can start.
It's so hard to pick just one, but there are a couple that I do want to put at the forefront. The first is better student discounts. And so to provide some context, past USG presidents used to have a program called Fordham Friendly. And so that gave Fordham Lincoln Center students discounts to local businesses. I don't really know why it fizzled out, but I've actually already been in talks with previous USG presidents about reviving that program. And another thing that people may not realize is that as a student worker at the Office for Student Involvement, I actually front a lot of questions about engagement or about USG in general from students and club leaders. And one thing that people have asked is, why don't we have more student discounts? Because the only things we really offer right now are Broadway lotteries and discounted movie tickets. So I think that's one thing that I'm really excited about, because everybody, every kind of student is going to benefit from that. The second thing, of course, is the 2-day email policy, because I think that students can get very frustrated, and this is a frustration I've encountered as a student worker, when they don't receive responses or receive delayed responses. And so a simple response to an email, so even something like, "Oh, we're working on it," at least lets you know that you have been acknowledged, and I think that's super important. And then lastly, pulling from the last subcategory of my 10 campaign points is the stereotypes event. I'm super excited about this. I'm drawing upon a leadership exercise that I did at a conference in high school. I think it's important that students know that USG cares about diversity and is actively thinking about it. So that's a great way to collaborate with clubs such as maybe SOL or MSA or BSA, and also maybe hopefully increase engagement through that collaboration, because we've seen a lot of great events this year, like the BSA Soul Caribbean MSA Mixer, that garnered a lot of attention and engagement. Those are the 3 things I'm most excited about.
Thank you, Robert.
Cool. So the one thing on my platform that I'm most passionate about is making sure that everybody's excited as much as I am to come to Fordham every day. I see Fordham as my second home. I don't want to say everybody is like my brothers and sisters, but fun cousins that I can see whenever I wanted to. I definitely feel closer to many of my friends at Fordham than I do to my own family. That might be because I'm an only child, but happens. But a big thing is that I just want people to feel like they're home. I want people to have a smile on their face. I want people to be excited, not to just show up and go to a class, but, be able to say, "Oh, I just had a great class today, and now I'm headed to go write for the school paper, or I'm going to go to baking club, or I'm going to go join student government and help push some policies to make other people as happy as I am." So really just making sure that people feel like they have a second home here is definitely what I'm most passionate about.
Great, thank you both so much. I have another anonymous question, also directed at Robert. Robert, could you go over your campaign platform for last year and talk about the things that you've accomplished as vice president?
Cool. So from last year, I was very big on just making sure that people felt like USG was there and that we were all involved, and that people would want to show up at events. I mean, having chaired the Winter Ball Committee, and making sure that, so many people did show up that, we had to go back twice to the Student Activities Budgeting Committee, and then, asking them for more funding was definitely a big thing that I thought was amazing. Making sure that people felt included. I can name a number of people who have actually signed up for orientation because they thought that I was going to be there, but I can't because I'll be studying for the LSAT. But knowing that just being able to push people to be their best and do their best is definitely what I've been working on and was my platform, and I believe I've helped accomplish that. And I'd like to continue to do that next year as well as your president.
Great, thank you. Our next question is from Sarah, and she is asking if each of you could summarize your campaign ideas in 3 words for us and the audience to take away. What would those be? Loreen, if you can go first.
Okay, organization, pride, and advocacy. And those are the 3 subcategories of my 10 tenets.
Robert?
Yeah. Happiness, inclusion, and love. And those are my main 3.
Great, thank you both so much. So that rounds us off for the questions. So on behalf of USG, I would like to remind everyone that due to current circumstances, the application deadline for the USG Executive Board and Senate has been extended, and those available positions include Vice President, Chair of Facilities, Chair of Student Affairs, Sophomore Senator, Junior Senator, as well as Senior Senator. So please visit the USG election page on OrgSync where you can submit your application. And with that concludes our debate for this afternoon. Loreen and Robert, thank you so much for answering our questions and telling us about your hopes for next year if you are elected. To all the students in our virtual audience, we hope this has been informative and a helpful debate. And thank you so much to our moderators, Katrina and Joe, as well as to the election committee for all of your help. Everyone, please remember to vote online. Voting will open on April 14th and close at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on April 17th. If anyone has any concerns, message me, but feel free to leave the meeting. I'll stay for a few more minutes if anyone has questions. Thank you so much. Have a great afternoon.